Is your plantar fascia acting up again? Are you getting that sharp stabbing pain in the bottom of your foot right next to your heel that's especially bad with the first few steps that you take when you get out of bed in the morning? Well, if so, you've come to the right place, because in this video, I'm gonna share a simple 4-step strategy for eliminating the pain that's associated with plantar fasciitis once and for all. Before we get to the treatment, let's talk about what plantar fasciitis is not. Now, multiple studies have been done where researchers have actually taken little tissue samples directly from the plantar fascia from people who were suffering from this type of pain. And they've analyzed those samples under a microscope to find out what's actually going on at the cellular level. And when the researchers from all these studies go in and look at these slides, you know what they never seem to find? Any signs of inflammation. But you know what these studies consistently find? Degenerative changes like the thickening and scarring of connective tissue, dead collagen cells, and tissue disorganization. These are things that indicate that the underlying tissues have suffered significant damage. So it seems that, at least in the vast majority of these cases, there is no itis, no inflammation in plantar fasciitis. And you might be saying to yourself, well, why does that matter? Well, if there's no inflammation present, it automatically rules out things like non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs and corticosteroids as potential treatment options. And because we're not going to be taking drugs, getting injections, or rolling on frozen water bottles to control inflammation that isn't even there, the question now becomes, what's the best way to treat this problem? And to answer that question, there are 3 important things that you need to understand about plantar fasciitis. Number 1, people with plantar fasciitis tend to have altered alignment of their big toe. In this study from 2020, researchers took over 480 people with varying degrees of hallux valgus, and they gave them all physical examinations and x-rays. And after going over all of this data, these researchers concluded that the incidence of plantar fasciitis and heel spur were significantly increased in correlation with the severity of the hallux valgus deformity. Number 2 is that people with plantar fasciitis tend to have mobility restriction in their big toe. And number 3 is that people with plantar fasciitis tend to overpronate. In this study, researchers closely analyzed the feet of 100 different people. Half of those folks had plantar fasciitis and half did not. And when they compared the 2 groups, they found that the people that had plantar fasciitis had a limited ability to bend their big toes backwards, and the most common foot type in this group was a pronated foot. And so the solution to plantar fasciitis is really pretty simple. We need to facilitate repair of the damaged tissue, and then we need to normalize the structure and functionality of the big toe and the arches of your feet. Which is why step number 1 for most people with plantar fasciitis is to begin bringing that big toe back into normal alignment. And for that, we're going to be using something that I call active traction. To do this, take a seat on a comfortable surface and position your bare feet straight out in front of you, about hip width apart. From there, we're going to squeeze the little intrinsic muscles here in the front part of the foot to create as much space between our toes as we possibly can. Squeeze and hold for 5 to 10 seconds. The harder you squeeze, the bigger the gaps between your toes should get. When 5 to 10 seconds is up, just let your toes sink back down to the floor and relax. Now, you're likely to find a couple of things when performing this exercise. First, you're gonna feel some tension or even cramping build up right here, and that means that you're using the right muscles. Number 2, you might find that you have an easier time activating the muscle and creating space on one side than you do on the other. And that is a sign of weakness and a strong indication that you're going to benefit greatly from this exercise. Now, for anyone who has a really severe hallux valgus where their big toe is coming across their other toes like this, performing this exercise with a little bit of external assistance can be really helpful. So take a thin exercise loop, or in a pinch, you can even use some large rubber bands, and wrap it around your big toes like that, and then just gently create some space there. You don't want to pull hard with this, just enough to create a little gap, and that'll get you headed in the right direction when you squeeze those other toes apart. Hold for 5 to 10 seconds, using that little bit of assistance, and down and relax. This simple, inexpensive tool can make a world of difference for people with severe hallux valgus. But regardless of whether you're performing this exercise with external assistance or without, you should perform 5 sets here and make sure that you're holding each one of those for 5 full seconds. Step 2 is to begin shifting stress away from your plantar fascia. And we're going to do that by mobilizing your ankles and strengthening the muscles that are responsible for holding up the arches of your feet. To do that, we're going to be using super slow tempo, full range of motion heel raises. But to make sure that you're targeting the right tissue, I strongly recommend wearing toe separators while performing this exercise. With your toe separators already on, step up onto an elevated platform. A stair at home works great for this, especially if you've got a handrail or a wall nearby that you can hang on to stabilize and balance yourself. Now you want to position your feet so that about the rear 3/4 of your foot is hanging off the back of the stair, and they should be about 4 to 6 inches apart. Then from there, balancing yourself on the rail or the wall, what you're going to do is slowly elevate your heels as high as you can go. Hold for a second, and then using a super slow pace, talking 6 full seconds, you're going to allow your heels to descend down to the floor, going as low as you're comfortably able to go. Hold the stretched position for 2 seconds, and then slowly, using that same 6-second pace, come back up to the top position. Hold for 1, and then repeat. 6 seconds down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Feeling the stretch through the bottoms of your feet, your heels, through your Achilles tendon, and up your calves. 6 seconds back up to the top. 3, 4, 5, and 6. Hold for 1, slowly back down, and repeat. Here I usually have people do 2 ultra slow controlled sets of 5 to 10 repetitions each. Step number 3 is to stop beating on your feet, because every minute that you spend in traditional shoes is pushing you further and further into dysfunction. Here's how. The narrow pointed toe box forces you into that hallux valgus position, which is directly associated with plantar fasciitis and prevents your foot from functioning properly. That elevated heel compresses your forefoot and chronically shortens your calf muscles and your Achilles tendon, tissues that are directly connected to your plantar fascia. And finally, those thick cushioned soles actually weaken the muscles of your feet and rob you of sensory input, which encourages you to strike the ground harder on each and every step, leading to more strain on your plantar fascia. Keeping that in mind, here's what you should be looking for in your next pair of shoes. Number 1 is a wide toe box that is actually shaped like a human foot, so that your big toe has the opportunity to be in normal alignment. Number 2 is a 0 drop, so the thickness of the sole of the shoe should be uniform from front to back. There should be no toe spring, so that the heel of your foot and your toes are the same height off the ground, exactly like they would be if you were barefoot. And number 3 is a thinner, highly flexible sole that gives you the sensory input that you need and allows the muscles in your feet to respond appropriately. Step 4 is to relieve your pain and speed up repair of the damaged tissue, and for that we're going to be using rock tape. Now there are a few really important things to keep in mind when taping for plantar fasciitis. First, the area that you're going to cover starts way up here where the muscle belly meets the tendon. It wraps around the heel, covers the plantar fascia, and inserts here on the ball of the foot. So you need quite a bit of tape to cover that area. Measure your tape carefully, trim it long enough to cover the entire space, and then make sure that you round the edges like that so that the tape doesn't catch an edge and peel off prematurely. Next, remember that you're dealing with an area that has a lot of unique shapes, and getting a flat piece of tape on there can be challenging. I'm going to show you a technique for this area that's going to help you to avoid any problems. And then finally, because this area gets a lot of wear with you being on your feet all day, it's important to prep properly, which means make sure that the area is clean, dry, and free of all lotions, creams, and moisturizers. And then as a final step, I like to prep the entire space with an alcohol pad and then allow it to dry thoroughly before starting. It's going to make sure you get the most bang for the buck with your tape. Then you're going to take your strip of tape, tear off a tab 2 inches from the edge, and peel it away just like that. Then you're going to aim here for the ball of the foot, try and get it dead center, and you're going to lay that section down with no stretch whatsoever. Use the back of your tape here to rub and activate that adhesive really well. Super important to get a good stick here. Then peel away the tab on the remaining section of tape, just like that. catch a hold of the edge, use this finger to get about 10 or 20% stretch across the Achilles, come to the heel, and then return and lay this area down. You can see that I'm flattening out the little bubble that I had developing there. Get that entire area stuck down. Then you can wrap the heel, making sure that the ankle comes into dorsiflexion, so you're pulling your toes up towards your shin. Wrap around that heel, going dead center. It's okay if the edges don't come down yet. Stay dead center. I'm stretching very slightly, like 10 to 20% on the tape, coming right up the center of that Achilles. When I get 2 inches from the end, I'm gonna lay that last 2 inches down with no stretch whatsoever. Then I'm gonna come in and rub down the edges. So I've stuck the center portion, and then I come in and I finalize it, which gives me the opportunity to correct if there's a little bubble in there. I can come in and smooth it out just like that. So center first, then go to your edges, take your tape, and activate the adhesive, and that's gonna finish it off. And what you're gonna see here is, even with all of those unique shapes with the heel and then that thin tendon, that tape is stuck down perfectly, and you can do it like that every time just by getting the center first and then rolling your edges down. When you take the time to prep your skin and lay the tape down properly, a single application of Rock Tape can stay on for 3 to 5 days. And for as long as that tape stays in place, you're gonna be getting benefits like reduced strain on your plantar fascia and pain relief 24 hours a day. If you want more information about the best toe spacers for improving your foot health, click the link here. And if you're looking for some creative ways to build super strong feet, click the link here. For Rock Tape, exercise loops, and the shoes that I use and recommend, you can check the description down below. Beyond that, I just want to thank you so much for watching. Make sure to hit the thumbs up button and the subscribe button before you head out of here, and I'll see you next time.